Excerpt from The Human Side of Animals by Royal Dixon. Cats have a species of unbeautiful music all their own, generally produced at late hours of the night, on the housetops, garden walls, and in the alleys of our dwellings. Miss Cat's songs are far too chromatic to be appreciated by human ears. As a result, her concertos and solos are rarely spoken of by human critics. However, nature does sometimes produce a tetrazzini, Alice Nielsen, or Caruso in the form of a cat, which really delights in harmonious combinations of sound. I know, for instance, of a cat called Nordica, owned by Preston Miller, who apparently takes the greatest delight in hearing good vocal and instrumental music. Another well-educated musical cat belongs to a friend who plays a guitar. This cat delights in touching the strings with his dainty, soft paws and springs with delight as the notes are produced. The animal world speaks of 5 musical cats, which were carried to various parts of the world and exhibited as bell ringers, and their owner made a fortune out of their concerts. 5 bells were suspended from a hoop, which hung above the stage, and to each bell was attached a small rope. At a given signal, each cat would seize a bell and give it a pull. This was done with such perfect time and spirit that one might well believe it was the work of human musicians and not of cats. Cows are responsive to certain kinds of music. A funeral march makes them sad, and ragtime so disturbs them that they give but little milk. The newspapers claim that Charles W. Ward, who owns a ranch near Eureka, California, says that the right kind of music will increase the production of milk, and that he uses a phonograph in the dairy barn. A friend who has traveled much tells the story of a musical cow. He, in company with 2 other friends, was coming up a river in a small boat singing. Just as they turned a bend, they saw a small brown cow suckling her calf, along with several other cows in a nearby pasture. The cow seemed so fascinated with the music that she plunged into the water and waded up to her head, trying to reach the boat. As they rowed along, she ran up and down the bank, cutting capers in a most astonishing manner, and lowing and bellowing in testimony of her delight in the music. She would leap, skip, roll on the grass, paw up the earth like an angry bull, and chase off like a playful kitten, always with a low, plaintive bellow as a final farewell. These friends often rode up the river just to see if the musical cow was there, and she always greeted them in the usual appreciative manner. Lions and tigers are proverbially fond of music. Professional trainers tell us that these animals, when tamed, will not do their stunts without the accompaniment of music. The story is told of a group of tigers which recently refused to perform because the musicians, while the performance was going on, went on strike. At once, when the music ceased, the animals returned to their respective seats, and no amount of encouragement would induce them to continue their performance. No amount of threats would induce them to work without music. The trainer dared not punish them too severely, yet he feared that if they were not forced to perform, they might continue to strike. But such was not the case, for on the morrow, when the musicians returned, they acted as never before. Sheep, both tame and wild, are exceedingly fond of music, and the shepherds of Scotland have used it with their sheep for ages. When the shepherd plays upon his flute or bagpipe, they gather around him and listen apparently with great satisfaction. When the music ceases, they wander out to feed, and in the evening he leads them home by the single strains of his flute. Circus horses are not only fond of music, but are partial to certain tunes, and demand that these be played while they are doing their turn. If, for any reason, the band changes the tune during a performance, they immediately refuse to go on with their stunts. The original fountain of all music was based on the various voices and sounds of animals, and each musical instrument was originally devised to imitate these sounds. For all instruments, the bass drum, flute, clarinet, trombone, trumpet, violin, and even pipe organ, an animal may be mentioned that owns the fundamental tones in its voice, and which man has imitated. Castanets, for example, were imitations of the rattlesnakes. The first musical instruments of any savage tribe of men are made so as to represent the voices of the chief animals of that particular locality.